Hi, this is John McGraw with John McGraw Photography. Today is Monday, March 30th, and we're all doing well here. Did some more yard work around the house yesterday, watched some more Netflix, and then today going to put together a grill that we bought a couple months back. So I'm going to put that together, get that on the back patio, and probably do some grilling today. So we're just doing what most people are doing. We're staying home and just sheltering in place and going for walks here and there around the neighborhood and just kind of staying here and doing our part, not to be out there. Obviously as a photographer, I could be out there documenting, what's going on, but I've made the decision to just stay home and not to go out there. So I don't need to go get a photo of the stores are closed and there's nobody on the streets. If people are out there doing that, news people and everybody documenting it for a reason, more power to you. Go do what you got to do, and thanks for helping keep us informed. But me, I do a little bit different kind of photography. Mine is more landscape, cityscape, people. So I just don't really feel a need for me to be out there being another person on the streets doing that. That's just a choice that I've made. Later on down the road, when some restrictions come off, maybe I'll get back out there, but for now I'm just going to stay home and do my part that way. So and I'll continue to do these videos. That's one way that I can contribute and put some information out there. So enough about that. I want to talk about today about camera RAW versus JPEG. So there's really two ways that you're going to shoot. JPEG is on most, if not all cameras or some format of that, like your iPhone. It'll be a different kind of file size or file name, but it's essentially a JPEG image. And what the JPEG does is you take a photo and the camera or the phone or whatever device you're using to take the photo will automatically compress the photo, and it'll adjust the color for you for what that device feels like the image should look like. Where camera RAW gives you a flat image, and then you adjust all the colors and saturation and vibrance and shadows and black, whatever adjustments you want to make to then bring that color back into the photo. So it gives you a better quality photo to start with that you're able to adjust the way that you want to as the artist. And now that doesn't mean that I'll go in and completely blow out the saturation or something like that to make the image look fake. Which it's not really fake, it's an artist's rendition of the image in my mind. But what I try and do is I try and add the color of what I saw in that image at that time back into the photo. So how I do that is I typically take about 10 seconds to edit a photo. It doesn't take me very long because I do about the same thing for each one. So I shoot my images in the camera the way that I know that I'm also going to edit it. So it's all part of it. You learn what your editing style is and what your shooting style is and how they'll both benefit each other. So what I do is typically I'll add a little bit of shadow. If there's a sky with some clouds, I'll usually drop the highlights a little bit. I'll add just a little bit of clarity. If you add too much, it'll get your image will get degraded a little bit, so be careful. And then I'll add vibrance. I don't usually add saturation. I don't like the way that it looks. I think vibrance, they're similar in what they do, but I think the vibrance gives you a more natural color and a better color than the saturation. I'll use saturation from time to time, but in general I don't. And that's all for color. Black and white, I'm not using the saturation or the vibrance, but I am using the other tools. In black and white, I tend to drop down or add a little bit of black back into the photo. So I'll add a little bit of shadow, sometimes I'll drop the highlights, and then I'll add a little bit of black to it, and that's typically about it. Up top, in most of your settings, you can adjust your exposure. In general, I don't have to do that because I've done that in the camera. There are times that I need to drop it down a little bit or raise it a little bit, but in general, I don't. So just make sure not to get the sliders going, the adjustments of each of those, the shadow, the highlights, whatever. Try not to get them very extreme, because the more extreme you do, it will add some noise into your photos. So just be careful of that. So if you add it maybe a third of the way, either way, up or down, usually you're not going to see anything in the photo unless you really zoom in. You're okay at that. Anytime you get more than that, you might need to, but you might start seeing some pixelation or some some effects happening to the photo that maybe you don't want at that time. So. But also people add some of that stuff on purpose. Maybe you add a lot of clarity, or you need to take some clarity out to make it, a little bit softer. There's 1,000 things you can do. So just play around with those dials in whichever software you are. And just remember that Lightroom and Photoshop, you're not adjusting the original photo. So just don't save it as the same file name, save it as something different, and you're okay. The original file will still be there as long as you save it as something different. You can make any adjustments you want and then keep that original. I keep all original files because I want to always be able to go back, because just like my shooting style changes, my editing style changes as well. So I'll go back to a photo that I shot 5, 6, 7 years ago and look at it today. I'll edit it a completely different way and it gives it a completely different feel. I'll also shoot that photo a lot different if I went back to that location 7, 8 years later. I've learned a lot more. Whatever I shoot today, I know I'll shoot different 5 years from now, but I'm in the style that I have right now. So it just like painters go through different styles, I think photographers go through different styles. I edit most of my photos in Lightroom. I used to use Photoshop a lot. That's the other question people will say, do you Photoshop your image? The implication when they say that is, are you manipulating your image or are you making it fake? And I think it's, first of all, it's art. But second of all, what we're doing in Photoshop and Lightroom is the same thing you would have done in a physical Lightroom back when you were developing film. So one example is Ansel Adams. Most people know who Ansel Adams is. His images of Yosemite, let's say, they were not 100% the way that he shot them. How he adjusted them was in the dark room or the Lightroom for his photography, back in the day film. He would adjust by his exposures, and he would manipulate different things so that certain light would hit the paper a certain way. So he was manipulating or photoshopping his images. He was just doing it in a physical darkroom at the time. So really we're doing the same thing, we're just doing it digitally that they were doing back then. So I wouldn't consider an Ansel Adams photo fake, because he made adjustments to make it look the way he wanted it to look and the way that maybe he perceived the landscape to look. Or maybe just his artistic view of what that landscape would look like. So that's how I look at it. If you have any questions, please feel free to make any comments down below or let me know. I appreciate you guys watching. Once again, you know how to find me, JohnMcGrawPhotography.com. All the social media platforms, John McGraw, you can look me up. Subscribe to the channel if you like what you've seen. I'll be placing some more photos or some more videos soon. So other than that, I hope you guys have a good day and stay safe out there.